So 2023 was not as productive as I'd hoped it would be, at least in my writing life. So hi, welcome to a new vlog. Please bear with me, I got a haircut and it looked great for like the first 2 weeks and now it's growing out again, so it's like I can't do anything with it. Well, I could get it cut again, but yeah, I could come on here and apologize for disappearing like I did, but I think at this point you guys understand that that's just what I do. So I won't apologize. I won't insult you by apologizing and promising to do better because, I can't make that promise. I've tried a million times. So, hi, I want to talk about 2023 and 2024, I guess. First, I need coffee. I mean, this is my second cup, so, it's not a need so much as just a want. Mostly because I got myself a new coffee maker and I tried 2 of this brand's coffees, so I just wanted to try the second one. I think I prefer the first, which is funny because the first was a medium roast and this is like a light roast, and I usually prefer light roasts. So I started off this year with one goal in mind, and that was publishing the first book in my Pine Hollow series, which if you're new to this channel, first of all, if you're new to this channel, hi, my name is April and I am a writer and I'm fucking terrible at it. And I am currently writing erotic romance when I initially started writing young adult and thinking I was going to be a young adult superstar, and that did not happen. So yeah, hi, welcome to my channel. But yeah, Pine Hollow, it is my cozy werewolf smut erotic romance series, term coined by the one and only Dolores Medill. My goal this year was to publish the first book in this series on Kindle, and I wanted to have it published by August at the earliest and by October at the latest. And as much as I would love to come on here and say, hey guys, guess what? I secretly published this story. Here's my new pen name. That's not happening. I had, of course, my call for beta readers earlier in the year. I think it was around June. And it was fun. It was a terrifying experience, but people were nice and that's all I can ask for. And, I knew I had problems with it. It did suck seeing other people point out those same problems because you almost hope you can kind of just like sweep it under the rug and no one will notice it because they'll be so like enthralled by the rest of your story that they don't care about the problems. That didn't happen. They pointed it out. I thought, God damn it, I knew that was an issue. And I now am no closer to publishing this book, and in fact I would say I'm even farther away because I realized what I want to do differently, and I still have a lot of work to do until I'm proud enough of that story to actually share it with people. And if you have been here since then you may remember that my partner and I actually moved in July. So the beta process was interrupted by us moving. We moved to a house that was over an hour away from where we were living, and that was a huge adjustment. I don't want to say my writing suffered because of it, but it did take a lot of getting used to, especially because I was then driving to work an hour both ways, and at the time, Monday through Friday, that was so draining, both physically and emotionally, and even financially because I was up to getting gas twice a week. So my writing suffered because I was just tired all the time, and I was embarrassed about Pine Hollow and the way, the things the betas said about it. After the betas, I looked at Pine Hollow again, and I distinctly, I remember thinking, I can't believe I thought this shit was good enough to share with anyone. So I had a crisis, which should be the name of my memoir. I Had a Crisis by April K, because it feels like I am always having writing related crises, whether it's my author identity, genre, I had to stop watching booktube videos because I love Reads with Rachel. I think she's great. I think she is witty. I think she's funny, and she genuinely seems like such a good person. But sometimes, the way booktubers will just shit on so many books, and it's a book that I enjoyed, and I'm like, oh. So then you start looking at your own writing, and you're like, man, no one's gonna like this. So I had to kind of step away from those kinds of videos because all it was doing was making me look at my writing and think that I am a useless piece of shit who should stop while she's ahead. And yeah, crisis. Sometime in the beginning of August though, I did write, I had talked about this in a previous video, I wrote like 6 short erotica stories, all in the same, like it was like continued little ficlets of one another, and I put them on Kindle Unlimited. I don't make a ton of money. It was really just an experiment with rapid release publishing, and I guess kind of an experiment with erotica, because my problem is trying to determine if what I'm writing is erotica or romantic erotica or erotic romance, and it's hard. It sucks that there's such a distinction, because I like both. I like reading both, but I think what I write is romance erotica, I think. And like I said, I haven't made a lot of money on these short stories. I didn't expect to, because they're not like fully fledged novels or anything. I don't have any reviews. A few people have like rated them and haven't rated them terribly. And I did get a couple of newsletter signups. So that's been cool. That's nice that, you know, at least some people are enjoying my work, because that's the whole reason I write. And side note, this is, you know, a secret pen name, and I do promise to share that with you guys soon. I guess I'm still just kind of getting used to this genre being in this category, I guess. What I'm writing under this secret pen name is just straight up smut, and it is such a far cry from what I was writing when I first started this channel and what I was writing when I started my Instagram, which again, I thought I was going to be a young adult author, and it just hasn't worked out that way. So I promise to share my pen name with you guys. I just have to work up to it because I'm so anxious about it, I guess. So yeah, I was publishing those. It was 6 of them, and like I said, I was doing rapid release. So I started publishing them in late August, and I finished, I want to say about the first week of September, I think, maybe the second week. Then at the end of September, I had my surgery, which was unexpected. It was supposed to be in November, and then they moved it forward because there was a cancellation. So that kind of, any kind of writing plans out the window, like, because I had to recover. When I was finally better, it was like, I think the second week of October, I jumped into this erotic romance about a vampire and his reincarnated human lover, and I finished it and I love it. I think it was so fun. I love so many like lines that I wrote. I love it, but I have shelved it for now, because in writing that, I was really setting up a prequel, because I was like, oh my god, I can't wait to like write a prequel about my main female character's past life where she first met this vampire, and I was like, oh, it's gonna be so fun, it's gonna be so fun. And then I started writing the prequel after it, and I hated it, so I have shelved this one, because chances are I will just have to go in and take away some of the build up to the prequel, because I can't promise a prequel that I never deliver on, and I especially can't promise a really awesome prequel if I can't actually write it. So I've shelved it for now, but I loved it so much, I'm gonna try and rework it. You know, it only took me a few weeks to finish it, but by then, NaNoWriMo was coming up, and I really wanted to participate this year, so I finished this vampire story like in the nick of time, basically, and I was pumped, so I started planning for Nano. And of course I shared my video about my plans. I was going to work on 2 separate projects, my Pine Hollow reboot, where I was going to finally attempt to fix all the issues I had with it, and then I was also still going to try my hand at young adult, because I have my Vampire Hunter story, which was the first serious story I ever wrote years and years ago, and I was going to reboot that because I think the idea is really dope and I really wanted to try. It didn't happen. Also, I came up with the wild idea in like the last week of October, actually. Let me check my dates, because I do keep track of everything because I'm a freak. I decided to start a new short story on October 30th because after I finished my vampire story, I made all new covers for the 6 the 6 smutty stories that I have on Kindle. I made all new covers for them, and I was really trying to move forward with that pen name, I guess. So I like revamped the site I have for that pen name, and I thought I need a newsletter. And what can I offer as an incentive to sign up for my newsletter? I needed a new short story. So on October 30th, I started the short story that I'm giving away now for free in my newsletter. And I wrote a little over 4,000 words on October 30th and 31st. And so then come November, I thought, okay, I already have my 2 projects, but I'm going to finish this short story first and then I'll jump into Pine Hollow. So the first 3 days of November were great. I wrote another over 8,000 words, probably more. My math's not great, that's why I'm a writer. So finished this short story, set it aside so I could edit it for my newsletter. And the plan was to jump right into Pine Hollow, and it did not happen because I had my crisis. And for like 2 weeks, I did nothing but beat myself up over not writing. So that was fun. That was a great time. But yeah. So November sucked ass for me, writing-wise. I did, and that's when I started my prequel for my vampire romance. Spent like a week or 2 writing it, and there were certain parts I liked, and then the rest of it I just absolutely hated. So I did not finish, and I scrapped it. I can actually look at my notes. It was November 24th that I gave up on the prequel. I even wrote, I think I'm trying to force this story, and I think it's time to take a break. Because I call them productivity trackers. I do this in my writing journal, and I will talk about how I'm feeling about what I'm writing. I use a highlighter, like a different highlighter color, to describe how I'm feeling, and I write my word count if it applies. So yeah, I don't know why I do it, I feel productive doing it. But yeah, so then, the last week of November, I started brainstorming a new vampire erotic romance, because what can I say, I love vampires. While I did write this story, write the first few chapters over the first few weeks of December, again, I just lost steam. It seems like I make the same mistake every time I start a new story, is that I become so obsessed with the idea of the story. I become so obsessed with the universe of the story, and I don't know why, but I start thinking, even before I finish the first story, I'm thinking about spin-offs and sequels and just little one-shot stories that can be told in the same universe, and I blow the plot and the universe and the lore just out of proportion. I will write a whole I'll organize a whole story bible about all of this lore and history and just stuff that never even shows up in the story that I originally had planned, which, as I said, erotic romance. So really we're just here for the romance and the sex between my characters, but blow it out of proportion. The story gets way too big for me, and like always, I get really intimidated and give up and feel terrible about it. So come December 11th, I know this because it's in my planner. December 11th, I was feeling really shitty about my writing, just awful. I felt so crappy and low. And so I started just reading some guidebooks and how-tos on Kindle just for fun. I had to confront some harsh truths, I guess, about my writing abilities and my skills and what I'm actually good at as a writer. As much as I want to be the author of a grand, sprawling, young adult epic saga that has legions of fans and inspires loyalty, and everyone is really enjoying it, everyone theorizes and makes art and writes fan fiction, as much as I want that with every fiber of my being, it's not really me, I guess. It's always been my big dream to be the next. Side note, I know I do this a lot, side note, I'm not describing these authors as really great authors. I'm not talking about the quality of their work. I know they have a lot of issues, and especially nowadays with channels like Reads with Rachel, I know a lot of these issues are pointed out a lot. So I'm not talking quality wise. I've always wanted to be the next Veronica Roth or Cassandra Clare. I wanted to have a fan base that had fun reading my stuff and, like I said, theorizing and writing fan fiction, and just that's always been my dream ever since I started writing. Like I said, it's just not me, and I've had to accept that that's not in the cards for me, and it sucks, but I'm gonna be 35 next year, and I can't keep forcing myself to write what I'm not good at, I guess, because every time I try, no matter how passionate I am about the idea, no matter how much I love the characters I've created, I end up hitting the wall and hating myself over and over and over again. It ends the same every time. And I spiral into crisis after crisis because it's not working the way I wish it would. It sucks. It's depressing, but I think it's finally hit me that, you know, I've talked about it before. I'm always trying to force myself to write what I think I should be writing. And I love young adult books. Young adult books are so diverse, and they're so, for lack of a better word, they're so woke. Like, it's just people who are hip to how shitty the government is and how shitty like capitalism is, even when it's taking place in like a fantasy or something. It's like just smart people who are rebelling against the system because the system is shit. So I love young adult books. I love reading them, but I just can't write them, and it sucks. My writing strengths and weaknesses just don't skew in that direction, and I had to kind of accept that and admit that and come to terms with that. And when it comes to what I'm good at, it's smut. Even back in my fan fiction days, which is when I really like got into writing, you know, it was beginning of high school, maybe the end of middle school, because I initially wrote like Dragon Ball Z fan fiction when I was like in like the 6th grade, but it was like Gen Fic, as it was called. It was just, I had a OC who like became best friends with everyone because that's what I wanted. So it was like the end of middle school and the beginning of high school when I discovered like smutty fan fiction, and I freaking took off running. I loved it. I have been in a vast array of fandoms, but like my stories have always kind of remained consistent in the fact that I write porn. Sometimes I have plots. I wrote a lot of vampire AUs. I wrote a lot of werewolf AUs, but at the end of the day, my stories were always romantic and erotic. The categories I often posted fanfiction to were called PWP, which stands for porn without plot, or plot? What plot? But I did also use a tag that was porn with plot because I do like to have a little bit of plot with my porn. So yeah, I like writing about two characters that have great chemistry together, and you know, they banter and they're just so great together, and then they get together and I let my freak flag fly and I write hot shit. And I'm not trying to like toot my own horn or sound arrogant, but like I made a lot of friends in fandom spaces because of my writing, and I earned myself a very fair amount of kudos over on Archive of Our Own, so I don't feel like I'm being out of line when I say I'm good at writing smut. So that stuff was kind of my first passion when it came to writing, and I'm not going to tell you what fandoms I was in. I don't want my old fan fiction found. I'm a much better writer now at this point, and also I used to be like very like what kinks can I explore in my writing? I don't want to get into that. Also, like, so when I started writing seriously, I was like, this stuff's not going to get me on the New York Times bestseller list. This stuff's not going to get me a Netflix adaptation. Like, I mean, and then, you know, 50 Shades of Grey came out. No, I'm just kidding. That book sucks. But so yeah, that's why I tried to force myself to write young adult, because like I said, I love it and I come up with great ideas, but I'm not good at it. And so I don't know if you guys have watched Our Flag Means Death. A character in season 2 had some words that I really took to heart.
If you were ever good at anything, go and do that, you bum!
So I know I say this a lot, but 2024 will be the year that I stop putting pressure on myself to write what I think is going to be my big break. I'm going to stop obsessing over reaching my big break, and I'm just gonna write what I'm good at. And I still have to figure out if it's erotica or erotic romance. I think what I write is considered romantic erotica. I think I have finally settled on that because it's porn, but I need my characters to actually give a shit about each other. And it does suck that that's my jam, because the most popular smut on Kindle right now is like, they call them alpha holes, where they're like alpha men and assholes, and I hate it. I hate these men that are just mean and they're assholes, but they're good in bed. I hate it. I like hot guys. I like guys that are a little alpha, but at the end of the day, I want my male characters to actually like the female character, if not love her. So it does suck that people don't seem to want that sappy shit like I do. So yeah, after reading those guides and getting inspired, on December 12th, I came up with like a handful of story ideas and picked one and outlined it and started writing it. And yeah, This one is about a girl and her older brother's best friend, because I do like tropes and that is a popular trope, although again, usually the older brother's best friend is an asshole and mine isn't. He's a real goofball and I love him. But yeah, so I started writing this story and I used a new method while I was working on the zero draft, and it took me about, let me see, a week, I think. So from the 12th to the 21st, I finished the zero draft, and then I started the first draft and I finished that on the 27th. So 2 days ago, I finished the first draft of this story. I think it's like 14,000 words, you know, it's like I said, it's a short story. I'm thinking I might make a video explaining this new method I used and whether or not it was actually like helpful or just a waste of my time. At the moment it feels helpful, but I really will have to kind of disengage because I'm still actively working on the project. I'm working on an extended epilogue right now for to put up on my website for free, you know, to kind of link to at the end of the book so that people on their Kindles can, you know, or their iPads, I mean, can click into my site and find the extended epilogue. That's the plan, at least. So I'm still actively working on this story, but once I've disengaged, I think I'll be able to determine whether or not this new method actually worked. This will be published under my secret pen name, which, like I said, will be shared. It's kind of just hard for me to show up to you guys and say, hey y'all, I have failed at what I was trying to do, like I am a failure. But here, look at the porn I'm writing. It's embarrassing because, like I said, when I initially started all of my my authory social media accounts, including my YouTube channel, I was all about like young adult fiction. Like I had a trilogy. It was like an urban fantasy and I was all about it. And like, I really set myself up as a young adult author, and that's not who I am. And it's embarrassing, especially to come on here and say, guess what? I'm actually writing porn. But when I get over the embarrassment and the awkwardness, I do plan to share with you guys, because it's not fair for me to for you guys to follow me on this journey and then for me to not even include you in the journey, I guess. So I will share that with you guys. Especially, I really like the story I've written this month. I think it's fun, it's flirty. I really like my male character, he's great. So I do plan to share with you. And while 2023 wasn't that great for me on the writing side of things, I will say it was a good year for me on the personal side of things, at least. In March, I joined a D&D campaign with my friends, and it took me a whole year to find people to play Dungeons and Dragons with, because it was one of my goals in 2022 was to learn how to play D&D and then find a group. And I learned, and I did not find a group. But in March, my brother and like some of his friends were just starting a campaign. I asked if I could join. God bless, they let me, and now I feel safe calling them my friends. But that's been a lot of fun for me. My social meter doesn't need to be filled as often as like other people's do. Like, I love being alone. I'm happy with being alone. And if I was a sim, I would have the loner trait, and my social, like I said, my meter would not decay. But I think it's been nice. We can only meet like once a month because of like adult, you know, and real life responsibilities. But it's just been nice to kind of have that to look forward to each month. And of course, in July, my partner and I bought a house, and we were able to get out of apartment life because I hated our apartment. I liked it because it was our first place together, but I hated it because it was like really ghetto and the neighbors sucked. I hated the parking lot because parking was atrocious, and I hated sharing a laundry room because there weren't enough washers and dryers. And now I don't have to worry about it. We might be away, you know, an hour away from everything we know, but it's our space, and it's quiet and it's peaceful, and it's been a blessing. And in September, like I said, I got my surgery, plastic surgery, which I had wanted for literally over half of my life at this point. I mean, granted, it took all of my savings, but I got it. It's been nice, and I'm healing really well, and I can't wait for my scars to heal up better, and, you know, I can wear t-shirts now, finally. I mean, it's cold, so I have a hoodie on. You know, I'm finally comfortable in my own skin, and I want to get a new tattoo to celebrate, so I'm hoping that 2024 will be the year I get my dream tattoo, which is the One Ring inscription. I want to get it around my arm. I think that would be so cool. I've wanted it for so long, but I hated my arms, so And December, besides the fact, Christmas came and it was really fun. We got to host on Christmas Eve for the first time because we finally have the space. But also in the beginning of December, me and my partner, we went with my brother and his wife. We went up to Pennsylvania for the Steel City Comic Con, and it was my first convention. And I really only wanted to go because I found out that Matthew Lillard was going to be there, and he's classic. Scream is one of my favorite movies, and I had just, of course, watched Five Nights at Freddy's when it came out in October. You guys may know that I love Five Nights at Freddy's, and I loved him in it, and so I found out he was going to be there, and I was like, oh my god, I can meet him. And I met him, and it was amazing. He was freaking awesome. We had to stand in line for like 5 hours, and I did dip out of line, and my brother and his wife, they held our spot, and me and my partner, we went and got in David Arquette's line because it was much shorter. Like the whole Screamcast was there basically, and we got in David Arquette's line, and I met him, and he seemed so exhausted, but he was really chill, and I got a picture with him, and then we went and got back in Matt's line, and then waited, even more to get up to Matt's table. It was awful. There were so many people. He is a sweet, genuine person, and if you can meet him, like if you ever get the chance, I highly suggest you do. He is just a kind person, and meeting him was so worth the friggin' 5 hours I had to stand in that line on the friggin' flat floor. Like, oh, my back was killing me. He was just so personable, and he gives really good hugs, and he initiated all of the hugs he was giving to his fans, which it just felt good because a lot of celebrities, like when you hear like stories about people meeting them, it's like they almost feel like, they're too good to be there or whatever, but he seemed like genuinely so grateful for all of the people that wanted to meet him. And I had him sign, I have a little Springtrap keychain, and I had him sign the backing, and I was just like babbling while he was signing it, and I felt so stupid. So I was like apologizing. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm so awkward, I'm so sorry. And that's when he kind of initiated the hug with me, and so it felt so genuine, and he gives really nice hugs. And he's also a giant. He is huge. And my sister-in-law and me, we were like fangirling so hard because she's always like had a crush on him, and I didn't. I've always liked him because Scream and 13 Ghosts, like they were my jam when I was a kid, so I've always liked him, but I didn't develop a crush on him until I saw him in Five Nights at Freddy's. I've always had a thing for older men, so but we were both like fangirling so hard. And she actually like while we were in line towards the beginning of his like we had just gotten into the building basically, and the line was just curving all around, but he came out to make a round like and high five people and kind of keep spirits up and stuff, and he came by and I was too far back and I missed him, and I was so sad, and he like stepped outside because the line was out the door. And so I was like sad, we're like talking, and all of a sudden, like just as I start to think, who's this tall asshole behind me? It was him coming back, but I didn't know that. And my sister-in-law, she yells my name, like she exclaims my name because she didn't want me to miss him. And so I turn and there he is, and like I hold my hand up for a high five, and he had heard my sister-in-law, so he was like dramatically exclaiming my name as he high-fived me, and it was incredible, and I could have died right there. And I told her that I owe her my life for exclaiming my name like that. She has a YouTube channel. She made a little video about it too, so I will link her channel down below. She has like a lifestyle channel. She's great. I love her. Like my brother married her for a reason, but yeah, I'll link her channel down below if you like want it. Like I said, she does like lifestyle and diet vlogs if you guys want to look into that. So yeah, like I said, not a bad year for me personally. I just wish I had accomplished more on the writing side of things. I've worked on a lot of projects, and I've even enjoyed a lot of them, but I feel like I spent most of this year pressuring myself about writing and hating myself because I just wasn't accomplishing what I thought I wanted to, I guess. I don't know. 35 isn't over the hill. 2024, I'm gonna keep at it. Like I said, I'm finally ready to accept that I can take all the writing classes I want, but I'm never going to write the next freaking young adult epic. I'm not a Sarah J. Maas, even though is she even considered young adult? I feel like she was when she first came out. Either way. So yeah, I know this was a long one, but it's like a recap of the year and also an explanation of like why I disappeared like a piece of shit like I always do. And if you made it this far, Like, thank you for being here. Thank you for sticking around as long as you have. It really means a lot to me, even though it must seem like the opposite when I disappear, you know, for months on end. Writing is hard, and I know all of you experience the same struggles that I do. I know I'm not alone when I experience, you know, writing struggles. I don't know, it's like I just need to go underground for a little while and be sad. Sometimes, like, staying productive when the world is on fire is just so hard, and it's like you ask yourself, what's the point? And then you get into an existential, you know, depressive funk. And yeah, I think I have successfully combated my way out of it, however. And I hope that you guys had a better 2023 than I did in terms of writing, and I hope you had a good, if not better, 2023 in terms of your personal life too. But I mean, meeting Matt Lillard has, you know, that's hard to top. Here's hoping that I can come on here this time next year and say, look at all these writing things I've accomplished. So yeah, thank you guys for watching this video, and I'm not gonna make any promises because I do that all the time and I break every single one of them. So thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you in my next one.